FC Dallas has made headlines recently with the amount of players that have developed in their academy and left Europe. U.S. national team players Weston McKennie, Chris Richards, and Ricardo Pepi started their careers in the FC Dallas Academy. However, despite being one of the founding MLS franchises, FC Dallas has yet to win MLS Cup. Club president Dan Hunt has said his dream is to have an entire starting 11 of homegrown players win an MLS Cup. And in this rebuild, we will attempt to make that happen. Okay, on the way, welcome to this FC Dallas homegrown rebuild. Really excited to put this out for you guys. First player we'll look at is Justin Ches. So he's a player who just was loaned out to Hoffenheim, where a former homegrown and Chris Richards is playing at. And it's likely he'll be bought in the end by them, if not by another side. So we're going to use him for the first few seasons. Then we'll actually sell him. Other players on the roster, a couple fullbacks as well. Colin Smith, Eddie Munyoma. And then Brandon Servania, an interesting player who did play for the USA U20U sides. It's going to be more of a backup rotational option for us as we move along, but we'll certainly be starting this first season. Edwin Cerillo, who's a very talented center defensive mid, and another player who played for the most recent USA U20 team, 65 overall, age 20, and he's a player who we see as our center defensive mid of the future. Paxton Pomaka, a player who likely was headed to Europe, had a pretty big injury a couple years ago, is just getting back, showing great potential, 68 overall, and we're going to be moving him from a winger to a center mid, as that's really his best position in real life. He's got some good stamina, decent agility, good passing. He's a pretty complete number 8, and that's what we're going to be playing him as you can see, is getting into the dev plan, changing him to a center mid, and it's going to happen fairly quickly. So looking to use him in that role and help be a big player for us. Now, a couple other players who really are going to feature: Benny Redsic, 49 overall, but Jesus Ferreira, the American international, showing great potential, 72 overall. Just recently played for the U.S. starting as a number 9. Did miss some big chances, but I think what you saw from more of him is he's a pretty creative striker. So we're going to change him to a striker, and then we're going to have a final player here, Thomas Roberts, a player who's on loan in Austria, who we recall from his loan, because we do certainly need him at the moment, because we don't have many homegrown players whatsoever. I was going to use actually one of these homegrown talents, the hometown heroes, whatever it's called, Jay Graham, a goalkeeper who was really an outfield player and obviously cannot convert him. And now we're going to really focus obviously on the youth academy, getting the best scouts as possible at first, some 4-star, 5-star, 5-star, 4-star, whatever. We are only going to be scouting the US and Mexico. It makes sense to scout Mexico, being in Texas, close to the border, and a lot of recent Mexican-American players, where we did do fairly well in trying to getting rid of some of the real players on the team quickly. Matt Hedges, Ryan Hollingshead, some players who have been quite in the side for a long time now. Our first player, we found Nacho Lopez, center defensive mid, 60 overall, low medium, 6'2", and we're going to change him to a center back since we're already pretty set to CDM with Edwin Cerillo. So we're going to promote him and change it there. Luis Ibarra, another player who's listed as a wing back, who we're going to change him to center back just because we could use some more depth there. I do have my eye on a few former players, but has potential to be special, does Nacho Lopez. So a really big, player we found immediately, and really excited to see how he fits into the squad. Certainly have signed some other depth players as well. You can see us putting him on that center back dev plan. Just going to take 2 weeks, and he's going to turn into a really solid option, obviously. Moving some players around, you can see a few players been signed, a couple goalkeepers, Jaramillo, Thomas, some backup players, Gordson. At the moment, we do have a full homegrown squad, except for the goalkeeper we did not put in yet. But we'll certainly put a goalkeeper in that spot at the moment. But Nacho Lopez looks pretty good. You got Ferreira up top, Redsic, obviously pretty poor, only 50 overall. Pomacas, Serrania, Cerillo. It's not too bad in the central midfield. We do have to move Thomas Roberts out wide to the right back spot. Luis Ibarra in the end ends up being a 57 overall as a center back. If he was a bit younger, I think that would be a year younger. If he was 16, that would be okay, but we certainly need to try to find some more options. And as a center back, Nacho Lopez is a 63 overall, which is pretty solid. We're going to put him on that stopper dev plan and see how he continues to grow here. Now, we did find a goalkeeper, Iago Duarte. He looks interesting, 64 overall, so we found our goalkeeper of the future, and certainly going to sign him up and get him to the squad as soon as possible, to continue to try to improve our squad over these next few years. So obviously, we want to win a MLS Cup with a full 11 of homegrowns. And just a full team event in the end is what we want. There's a few other players, we kind of end up signing more who ended up being better as a left mid. But eventually, we are going to change tactically because we were terrible in the first half of the season. You can see about 16 matches played. It's almost halfway. It's technically 17 matches played. 7 points in dead last. Terrible. Completely terrible. We are finding some more players, though, who could be of use. Nicolas Sales is probably going to be a good fill-in option as a left back from now on, because we do have two pretty low-rated homegrown fullbacks, and we do need to try to improve over them. So he's going to slot in. In the meantime, we'll try to look for some better options. But you can see 58 overall, he slots in there. 60 at the right back is Mnyoma. So obviously Justin Che, we would prefer not to have to use him, but because of what happened with him being sold, I really did this as soon as he got loaned to Hoffenheim. It's most likely going to be moving to the one of the club permanently. So it's kind of messing around. We're going to have Che at least for the first few seasons and try to find a replacement. Because I believe it is an 18-month loan or a 2-season loan, something about there for him. So we'll see how we do there. But now found two interesting center mids. Two interesting midfielders and one striker. A Cam, Garrett Smith, and he's a player who could, if we change tactically into a diamond midfield, which is kind of what we're looking to do eventually. 62 overall. He's not looking too bad. And then Luke Riley, a 15-year-old who's already 58 overall, 80 to 94 potential. And then Nathan Johnson, who's not looking too bad as another center mid option. So Johnson and Riley were some good finds there. And Wolf actually looked to have decent potential, but he's one of those players going to take a while. But now moving on here, 9 months playmakers that we're going to do. And then we did go 9 months defensive-minded in Mexico is what we went. I couldn't really decide. In the end, I think we improved a little bit as the season went on. Still pretty close to dead last. I mean, yeah, we were dead last. 27 points. Yeah, the worst team in the league. We were the worst team in MLS. 27 points. Not a very good performance, but at least there was some promise in this season as we did find Isaac Moore. So 61 overall and 17 years old. He's going to be another player we can use at the center mid spot. Certainly makes it look good for the idea of switching to a diamond midfield, a narrow diamond midfield. I think would certainly suit us, as we do have a player on him like him now. An exciting prospect is Isaac Moore, which is very interesting to see. I mean, Smith is going to be another player filling in in the midfield for now, it looks like, as well. But we're going to go more. I do want to use Thomas Roberts just because he's been in the club quite a bit, and Smith didn't really have an amazing potential or anything. But you can see Duarte at the end of the season up to 66 overall. Some decent growth of some of these players. Nacho Lopez up to 65 with the has potential to be specialist. Certainly be growing quite a bit over the years. Chet did have an injury, so only grew by 1 point. That's what was also disappointing. But Edwin Sarillo up to 67. Servania up to 64. And we do have, quite a few of these interesting center mids still. Paxton Pomeka up to 72 overall. Thomas Roberts did grow by 2 points. Garrett Smith up by 1. So some of the growth looking promising. Obviously, Jesus Ferreira is the big player here up to 75. Going to look for him to carry the team these next couple of seasons, as Ferreira did have 14 goals, so a very good campaign as the starting striker. And on the assist, no one really popped up there, but decent. I mean, Ferreira was the man, 15-5. Paul Macau, 8 goals, 4 assists. Other than that, really no one was contributing too much. 3 goals, 2 assists from Thomas Roberts, 3 goals from a few other players as well. And it looks like Riley continues to improve quite a bit. And as we kind of figure out more what his potential is, it's showing to be 82-94. So he certainly looks to be our next Ricardo Pepi type striker. So age 15. He can dribble quite a bit. I mean, you just need to kind of work on the finishing a bit more. Do end up selling one of our initial homegrowns, Colin Smith, to a side. But then we also did end up finding an interesting fullback here, a left wing back, Fernando Aguilar. 62 overall, age 15. So he's certainly our left back of the future once we can technically sign him. If we could have signed him already, he would already be the starting left back, clearly. We're going to try to improve him in some areas that need to be improved, like the passing, dribbling a bit to get his overall a bit higher. And with that, he'll certainly be our left back of the future. Once Aguilar and Riley are are eligible to be called up, we certainly will be able to develop a squad, and it'll be a lot of fun to see. I'm going to put the poacher on Luke Riley because for some reason finishing is always quite low on youth academy strikers, so that's always something I do recommend at least at the start to put them on the poacher. But now we can play that diamond midfield. We do have Miller, one of our strikers that we aren't going to use too much on there. Then we have Roberts at the cam, Moore at the center mid, along with Pumacao, Cerillo, Salas, Lopez, Che, Bunyoma for now, and Duarte at the goalkeeper. And at least we can have a full youth academy / homegrown side. So youth academy graduate / homegrown, whatever you want to refer. Homegrown is technically a bit different in MLS, but yeah, it's 61 overall now. Dev Plan helping. He's going to be called up, and he'll be slotting right into the starting 11, which is going to be wonderful to see. Exciting prospect, 61 overall, age 16, just turning 16. And he's going to be getting tons of games for sure as we try to develop him and turn him into the next Ricardo Pepi type of striker for us. So moving on, we do have to actually target some former players. Alejandro Zendejas, one of the initial players who kind of made a move. It was under the radar, obviously, at the start. He $500,000, I think he left to Chivas, like Guadalajara. It's an interesting move because he was a U.S. youth product. Actually, played with some players like Christian Pulisic, Tyler Adams, those guys, and he's an interesting player. I think he has technically switched to Mexico, as he did have to not accept call-ups from the U.S. once he played for Chivas. But he's a really exciting player who's really had a resurgence recently in Mexico. He can play. He played as a winger growing up, and we're also going to go for a former fullback who really made waves at the start because of his initial season. He's a very athletic player, obviously about 6'2" or so. Brian Reynolds, who's currently at Roma, and pretty much going to just be, we only had to pay partially of what, the transfer fee was from Roma. Michigan was about $8 million or so is what Roma paid for him. We only had to pay about half of that to bring him back to the side. So we'll take it. Let Brian Reynolds try to, have a revival season possibly and see how he fares. So we'll move him obviously into the starting right back spots. Zendejas will be the cam. Obviously he's not technically a cam in games per se, but he has really good dribbling. He can play center, mid, left mid. He's just a very intriguing attacking player who's been playing. He obviously was a winger before, has been moved centrally in recent seasons, has thrived there, and I think we'll see him do fairly well as a number 10. Obviously, kind of growing up, he did play in the attacking positions, and at the moment we're actually in a playoff spot this season, which is promising with 26 matches played, 33 points, but still some other quite a few teams have some matches in hand, and in the end, unfortunately, just missed a playoff spot. It was unfortunate, but we still have quite a few players are growing and trying to improve and get their overalls up, because it's a bit frustrating having some of these players be so low rated, but it's what makes these rebuilds pretty fun. Now, Fernando Aguilar, we can call him up soon. It looks like up to 66 overall now, and so the Philadelphia Union did win the MLS Cup in that season. And the top scorers, not really too much from us in that sense, showing up in the top scorers. Unfortunately, you can see some of the players up there from the other clubs. And in assists, though, we did have Ferreira with 8 assists on the season. That's a pretty good campaign from him. And a couple players like Zendejas showing up after coming just kind of the halfway point of the season. But 10 goals, 8 assists from Ferreira, pretty good season. Now the youngster Riley had 10 goals in his first season, so pretty solid. 7 goals, 4 assists from Pumacao. Zendejas, who came about halfway through the season, 7 goals and 5 assists, pretty solid. Moore with 4 goals, 5 assists. And yeah, it's a pretty good season for some of these players. Edwin Cerillo grabbed a couple assists as a CDM. And you can see how some of these players grew. Obviously, I think we're getting there in the overall. 69 overall now is Duarte. Nice. Nacho Lopez up to 70 overall. I think once you get to, around the 70s, mid-70s, that is about, the overall ratings of a pretty good MLS size. You see Brian Reynolds up to 71, it looked like. 69 for Cervania. Nice. Quite a few players growing throughout the seasons. And obviously going to now pretty much try to focus on center back. I think that's really what we need, is some more defenders. So I just said 2 defensive-minded scouts out and see what we can find. Now, I think we found our player that we need. Bruce Bliska, interesting guy. He's short. He's not very big. Fernando Aguilar is 5'9", and he's finally ready to be prone to the super senior team. So that's one we're really excited about. But Bliska, we definitely need him. 61 overall. He's a left back, but we're gonna have to turn him to a center back. He's only 5'7", but he's got strength in jumping, so it kind of makes up for it. He's actually fairly strong. I wish he could grow more, but immediately I said, hey, he's our center back. We're going to sell Justin Chen this season just to kind of be realistic with the transfer out, because technically he would be off the books of FC Dallas about in this season or so. So that's something that we should certainly think about. I think it's, because obviously this MLS season was technically starting the start of 2021. So considering it's a 2-year loan, he would probably be, or it's 18-month loan, it would be around end of 2022, 2013 or so, where he would be leaving to whatever club, either Hoffenheim or likely another club in Europe if he doesn't initially go to Hoffenheim. But exciting prospect does have Fernando Aguilar. We're going to change him completely to a left back, and Bliska had a decent potential on him also. And now we'll fix that up a little bit. You can see Aguilar 67 overall. Bliska at the 61 overall is looking pretty good. And yeah, this team is filling out pretty well. Just a couple players are not obviously at the 70 overall at the moment, such as Bliska. Aguilar, who just got caught up more, certainly is going to be hitting that mark eventually. Even we've got some decent backups now, which is nice to see. But Bliska now up to 65 overall as a center back. So he's going to be growing pretty quickly, it looks like, and obviously, it makes sense to have a player like this. The FC Dallas Academy did produce two, quality players in Che and Richards, who've created a lot of, interest. And of course, Richards eventually left, and Che looks to be leaving if things all go well with his loan. But about halfway through the season, still kind of fighting for a playoff spot, but still, it's okay because some of our players aren't exactly at the level yet, still pretty young. 21 points, 8th place at the moment, just behind our Texas our Texan neighbors there. And yeah, in the end, we'll look at how the season ended with the goals first. Some not too much again from the goals for some of our players, but Ferreira did have 11. But some other teams have really been doing fairly well. More, though, 11 assists, and Paul Macau with 8 assists. So the young homegrown graduates, the Youth Academy product, more doing so well in his second full season with the side. 11 goals and assists from Ferreira, 8 goals and assists from Zendejas. Now, Luke Riley didn't have the best season, but still improving quite a bit at the 6 goals. Then Brian Reynolds with 5 goals, 3 assists. Of course, Moore we saw earlier with the 4 goals, 12 assists, 4 and 8 from Paul Macau, and then you can see some contributions from Aguilar, Bliska, Smith, Roberts, etc. But a pretty solid campaign here, and we'll see if it did end in a playoff opportunity. In the end, yes, just squeaking into the playoffs in the 6th spot, and it's going to lead to a match against a pretty strong LAFC side. They are pretty good in game. And we'll see how that match goes with them simming through it. But I think this is a good, at least getting the side, the experience in the MLS playoffs is a pretty big deal, and to see how we can build on this. But in the end, it would be a loss against LAFC. But I do think this next season is the one to try to win everything, because this one. We're close, but not exactly at the best level yet. As we do officially finish the sim, 3-2 loss. Not sure what happened there with the game. The footage was a bit slow for some reason there, but now you see some of the growth of some of the players. Obviously, now we're hitting in the 70 mark with a lot of the guys who are the starters. A couple players, getting this close to the 80s almost, in mid 70s. So I think this certainly is the season where it looks like where we can wrap things up and try to win the MLS Cup, as a lot of these younger players are hitting, some pretty big improvements in their career, and even some other players like the backups, Jeremy Miller, it has a potential on him. Exciting prospect. Luke Riley now up to the 70. So some very good growth. And as we move into the first half of this fourth season, second place, 34 points, tied with the Whitecaps, with Vancouver Whitecaps, and clearly one of the best sides in MLS now, if not the best. And in the end, it would lead to a dominant season, easily winning the Supporters Shield, being the best regular season side with 75 points, 23 wins, 6 draws, 5 losses. That's a very impressive record in MLS, and it's only fitting with some of the matches we'll see here to end this season, and what certainly looks to be a dominant display. As long as things hold up, with some of these young players continue to show their ability. 17 goals as such from Riley, 15 from Zendejas. So obviously, then a 17 also from Ferreira. So our attack was absolutely ridiculous. That trio scored a ridiculous amount of goals. And assists, more again with 13 assists, 7 assists from Zendejas, then 6 from Ferreira. So that attack was absolutely incredible. And then Moore has been kind of the assist getter, the playmaker, the assist getter. As we move into this first round matchup of the playoffs for us, well, it's technically a conference semifinals. There was a previous round for some of the lower seeded sides against Austin FC. So at the Toyota Stadium, you will see the lineup here. You've seen it before. Iago Duarte in net, Brian Reynolds at the right back, Bliska and Lopez at the center backs, Aguilar on the left, Sarillo at the center down to mid spots, Paul Macau, Moore as the 8s, Zendejas as the cam, and then Ferreira and Riley up top. So going to be a lot of fun to see how the team performs in this against our state rivals, of course, the new side in the MLS in Austin FC. And Aguilar winning the ball here, trying to push forward. Zendejas, you can see his ability to drive and make some plays with a beautiful ball to Riley, and Riley slots that into the near post with an easy finish. And that's exactly what you can see. I think this team is set up to both be good on the counter as well as be on the front foot with some of the players on the side. But this Austin FC is not going to stop playing. You can see some very good build-up play. The ball played back out wide. A ball played in. Fortunately, the defense was not in sync there as things are tied 1-1. Now moving on, Austin FC still challenging, getting themselves into some good spots. A ball played there, but a great job. Lisca did catch the sweat. Now Moore is going to be on this counterattack, playing the ball through to Jesus Ferreira, who's going to now have a 1v1 opportunity, beat his man, cut inside, and finish this near post. Just when it looked like he was going to go far post. An absolutely class finish from Jesus Ferreira, and that is exactly what you want to see from your star man. Obviously, he's a designated player in MLS, which is usually not what you see, with these younger players. He's getting paid a lot of money. There's a lot of interest in him from Europe, and he's showcasing why he's getting paid those big bucks with that quality near post finish. Now, Jesus Ferreira, unfortunately, just after that, is going to go down with a knock on that corner kick. Really probably doesn't even need to be challenging for a header there, and unfortunately, it's a pretty big one. So he's going to have to come off, and that's going to make things interesting as we try to figure out how we're going to approach this, because we don't really have any other really good number 9s. We can bring in some other players. So we're actually going to bring in Roberts as the cam and move Zendejas, who's played as a forward before. He plays a beautiful ball to Thomas Roberts, who can't finish it. But Luke Riley is going to clean up that chip and put it in the back net, showcasing some poacher skills just like the former FC Dallas man, Ricardo Pepi. And he certainly is making a name for himself in this career mode is Mr. Riley. But now moving forward, in the 58th minute, Zendejas playing the ball down to Roberts, who's going to ask some space. Back to Zendejas, to Luke Riley, and he's going to put down the back of that with another cool finish there. Looks to be pretty comfortable with his left foot. Easy finish, 4-1 to defeat Austin FC and move on to the next round. Certainly is going to be an interesting matchup, as we'll see who we come up against next. But Jesus Ferreira, unfortunately, is going to be out there, but what we're going to do is we're going to move Zendejas to the striker. He's going to be more of a support striker. Ask him to kind of play a bit wider, make some runs into the channels, and showcase some of his playmaking ability they showed. Then we're going to have Thomas Roberts at the cam for now. We certainly could change things up and put some other players there, but we'll see. At least in this matchup against Minnesota United, that is what the formation and everything will look like. But now moving on here. Zendejas running at the defense, a beautiful 1-2. Riley and Zendejas connecting, and that is actually why he was called into this forward role, as he certainly has the ability to play there with that beautiful link-up play between him and Riley. Not missing a beat, even without the wonderful Jesus Ferreira. This attack is still very potent, and that is a beautiful way to go up 1-0. Some good play. Now Roberts with an absolutely beauty of a pass, but Zendejas this time cannot finish it, as that was a great reaction save from the goalkeeper to stick his foot out and keep things 1-0. But now Zendejas with some space running at the defense, plays a beautiful ball over the top, as Riley's going to have the space here. Just has to finish this chance, and this time goes wide, unfortunately. Riley has not missed too many of those chances, but Zendejas with some great play. And now don't want to make Minnesota United feel like they're in the game. But Paxton Polaka wins the ball, drives forward, plays a perfect pass, and that's exactly what you want to see from number 8. This time, Riley's going to split across to Zendejas, would certainly deserve that goal. With how he's played, Zendejas has certainly been the man of the match so far here. But 2-0, 48th minute, and certainly looks like this one could be put away quickly. A beautiful performance again from what is a very talented side, and the match would end up being 2-0 thanks to the brace from Alejandro Zendejas. But now moving on to the MLS Cup final. So we actually are going to move Pomacau to the cam, and we're going to have Smith play on the other center mid spot, or Johnson. I mean, either of them can perform well in that role. So that's why it was kind of give or take. But Smith has a bit more in the form, as he's played a bit more recently. So that's why Smith was put in there. But it's nice to see all these homegrown players finally getting to the goal of Dan Hunt of having a full-grown, homegrown 11 in a MLS match, MLS Cup final. And hopefully this side comes down and wins this. Obviously, Columbus has some pretty good players. Darlington Nagbe, a former U.S. international. I think he's a player who probably is one of the most talented players U.S. players produced before this big kind of bang. He's a very talented player who probably could have done much more in his both career at the international and club level. But big performance expected from this side, as Columbus Crew just has a pretty big history in MLS, one of the original sides, and it's always fun to end things at this point against a club of that stature. So that has Riley up top, Pomacau at the cam, Smith more as a center mid, Cerrillo center defense mid, Aguilar, Lopez, Blisca, Reynolds as the defense, and then Duarte in net. And Columbus Crew, pretty good side. They still have Zelarayan, and they of course have Darlington Nagbe, as we saw before. Miguel Berry, the son of Greg Berhalter, Sebastian Berhalter, is on the bench, and Etienne can certainly cause some problems on the bench, off the bench with his pace as well. So, moving into the highlights of this match, it is Columbus Crew who looked to strike first. A pretty good ball played, a great ball actually. 2 incredible passes to put the Columbus Crew up early, 1-0. 9 minutes in, and it was certainly a bit of a shock, especially playing at home at the Toyota Stadium. But a nice win here. Paxton Pomacau going to run at the defense. He's going to play a good ball to Smith, who's going to look for Zendejas. He's going to put this one in the back net near post. So a very quick response. So nothing gets this side flustered, as Zendejas, who's been the man of the playoffs, really moving into that striker role, making up for that absence of Ferreira. It looks like there was not really a step lost. Ryan Reynolds showcasing his improved defending ability there, winning the ball. Now Paxton Pomacau again dropping deep, winning the ball, receiving the ball, running at the defense, and too easy, as the ball is put into Zendejas for another goal, as Riley plays that one in for that cross. But what a beautiful counterattack, and exactly why Pomacau was just coveted at one point of his career. But Duarte with a huge save to keep things 2-1. And now Reynolds trying to win the ball, does end up playing the ball back to Blisca, tried to play out the back, but really good time press. And the Columbus Crew are going to tie things up 2-2 in the 42nd minute. So that certainly puts a wrench into things. It looks like it could have been an easy one, but the ball played now to Aguilar. the fullback getting forward, playing the ball to Riley, who just hits it right at the goalkeeper, so it's still 2-2 in the 50th minute. But now moving forward, Smith is going to push the ball to Zendejas, who's again out on this wing, going to play the ball forward, get to the second ball after poor clearance from the Columbus Crew defender. Now Smith's going to play the ball to Zendejas, and again, Riley is free, and that is an easy finish from Zendejas to make things 3-2 in the 57th. And now just trying to find another goal to maybe put things away, not let Crew get back in this one as they have in the last couple of leads that we've had. But now again, easy work. Zendejas to Riley, and it is 4-2 in the 72nd minute. And what a beautiful run it has been from this FC Dallas side. Supporters Shield and the MLS Cup. Really, that does not happen all too often. And obviously now it is time to celebrate for this side. And there's a lot of fun doing this rebuild. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed watching FC Dallas. They're an interesting side in MLS, obviously with their just history so far recently, a recent history producing players who do get exported to Europe, and playing younger players who we saw like Ricardo Pepi, in previous years. Brian Reynolds, obviously got a good run before he left Roma, and it'll be interesting to see how the squad size fares this season with the upcoming MLS season, with guys like Paxton Pomacau returning, to full fitness. Jesus Ferreira really giving the reins as being the designated player. And in real life, they brought in some interesting players from the MLS side. Paul Arriola, not a huge fan of him. And they are rumored to bring in the exciting Argentinian winger in Alan Velasco. So, yeah, we'll see how things go. But a lot of fun doing this, using a full youth academy graduate side, homegrown. I don't like saying homegrown necessarily because it's kind of a weird rule in MLS. It's very complicated. MLS rules are very complicated, but in the end, you can see Paxton Pomacau being the one to lift the trophy. Certainly is the one who deserves it, especially considering the ups and downs of his career, being such a highly coveted player at one point, looking to most likely make a move to Europe. And just as that was kind of happening, he unfortunately has had some injury issues, but he's the one who deserves this cup to be lifted in his hands. And with that, guys, thank you all for tuning in. Really hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit that like button. I love you. I'll be signing out now, and I'll catch you guys later.